Hello and welcome to your astrological vibrations for Friday, October 25th, 2024 by Gaia Blooming. I'm Mimi and our energy mantra for today is I nurture my unconscious, which can be an interesting thing to do. But as I was looking at today's astro and on into the weekend, I noticed a lot of concentration, a lot of focus on Mercury hanging out in Scorpio. So today we have the moon and Mercury doing a little dance, but we actually have yachting going on. More yachtiness happening. We have this weekend Mercury forming inconjuncts with Jupiter and Chiron. And the inconjuncts is like, we're not seeing eye to eye, but we're going to learn how to work together and do some important work. The yod is the finger of God, the finger of fate, being like, hey, this is where the lesson is. So looking at Mercury in Scorpio, this is a chance to magic school bus our shadow side, our unconscious, the places that we may fear to look at mentally. Now today we have the moon in Leo, which can also represent the unconscious. The moon can always represent like the psyche, the unconscious, things unknown, and it's squaring that Scorpio. So Scorpio's like, oh, I'm gonna find those little things and I'm gonna, I don't know, I will tell you the image that popped into my head. Mimi Sapien symbols. So for this moon square Mercury energy, it's using like a little nitpick and like picking lice out of the hair. That was the image. But that's kind of sometimes what it's like to go into the unconscious, the subconscious, and recognize the little sectors of sabotage. Our mind is so potent when it comes to helping us think. Did you hear? That was a little wolf squeak. Those are very rare. It helps with the wolf squeaks. It helps align our lives. It either supports us in our mission or it can move us away from that. Now, this is very interesting with this yod energy coming in, because one part of the yod is Jupiter in Gemini, and it's retrograde. So if you can think back to when Jupiter went retrograde in Gemini, I was like, this is a great time to go within and notice your mind and notice what your mind is doing and maybe change your mind to support you. So this feeding in is like, hey, there's some places in there, there's some little nits that need to be removed, shifted out, because they're not supporting your lustrousness. Chiron, also retrograde in Aries, is also an interesting piece, because this feels like, it's like, who are you really? Now, I know for me, my mind can go into places of fear, it can go into places of like negativity, it can go all over. I have Mercury in Scorpio. Whew, it is a ride, okay? Even though I feel like such a strong, positive, possibility, faith-filled person, my mind can spiral. And if I don't catch it in time, soon I find myself in the mud, in the muck, and it can be really difficult to pull myself out. But if I catch myself there, I'm like, oh my gosh, what is my mind doing? What are these stories telling? A lot of times I can kind of like right the boat, so to speak, before it hits that place. So be aware of that. Be aware of these stories that your mind is telling. And you might have those times too when you have a thought and like, is that even me? Like, where is that thought even coming from? Recognize that. That's where some of this clearing can come from. So in this square, we may have some ego clash come up. We may have some places that battle between the light and the shadow, and it's okay to acknowledge the shadow. It's okay to go there. We have such an interesting card, and I cannot wait to like dig into this. The moon is also meeting up with Jupiter and Chiron, and maybe like informing them on their way to the yachtiness that's happening this weekend. The moon's like, okay, here's the places where this person's having trouble digging in, looking at themselves, looking at the shadows. But the moon in Leo plus Jupiter in Gemini, this is such a cheerleading. So it's like, I wish I had pom-poms. Hey, You can do it. Hey, you can do this. Even if you find yourself in the same cycle, you can do this. Changing your mind takes time. Aligning your mind with who you really are takes time. There's so much conditioning. There's a lot of mind fields, fear waves that we can get caught up in, especially right now in the world. I mean, there's a lot of agendas out there. You need to believe what I believe so I can be safe in the world. Instead of like, hey, who are you? You do you. Because you being you is the perfect thing for this world. That's exactly what this world needs. So watch for that. Because we're more spongy and receptive than we realize. I do want to mention, speaking of the mind, that the moon is going to move into Virgo this weekend, which is great for vacuuming your mind. Moon in Virgo, it can take you to that critical piece within you, your inner critic, but it also can be great for focus and healing. So I think that's a really positive energy to support us with as we move deeper in. So watch for the shoulddiness of your mind. Watch where somebody else has said this is who or how or what you should be, and you struggle with it, and you're not being yourself because you're stuck in the shoulds. The shoulds are some of those muddiest places. Be here now. Oh, look, I started writing it. I was like, what would it be like if I started writing what I wanted to write on these cards? So I was like practicing, because these cards are pretty old. So be here now. Be present with yourself. Trust your process. Trust your emotions as well that are bringing stuff up. Let yourself move through it. This is part of Scorpio season and all the other wateriness that is happening and going on. Mars in its shadow period before it goes retrograde. It's not going to be going retrograde until December, but it's starting these lessons, and these lessons are deep and they have a lot of emotions to process. This feels like it goes hand in hand with the shittiness card. It's the stress card, but it's the stress of the mind, what the mind says you should be, how you should be, that's keeping you from your magic. I always love that quote. I say it often. The cave you fear to enter holds the treasure that you seek. Joseph Campbell. I always forget who says it. I think it's Joseph Campbell. But that is like the psyche. That's those hidden pieces, those parts of yourself that you've pushed away. Even if they're pieces you're like, I don't want to be this. That doesn't mean it doesn't hold some treasure for you. The final card is the patience card. I have to say that the patience card was in reverse. So you may not be feeling very patient with yourself. This is a process that needs the patience. So, love this card. I pulled the scrying card. And I actually looked up the definition of scrying because I was like, well, scrying to me is seeing. Various forms of seeing, right? In this it says, scrying is a form of divination and fortune-telling that involves gazing into reflective surface, such as mirror, fire, water, to receive visions or messages. The goal is to gain personal guidance. When I pulled this card, I imagined sky scrying, which I guess is technically not scrying, because I imagined just seeing answers in the clouds, looking into nature. Now, it says a reflective surface, but I think everything is reflective one way or another. And so just recognize when we are noticing in the world, look, you can be scrying right now. When you're noticing things in the world, it's a form of scrying. It is reflecting something of yourself back to you. And so we can do so much healing by bringing our awareness, be here now, to what's showing up in front of you. Like when I'm recording, I'm like, oh my God, there's a bug there, or there's this. That's a message to me. The universe is always speaking to us. And I think with this Mercury energy, it is so potent to notice what's coming up, because sometimes it's not as easy to dig in here as it is to look out there and see what's going on and recognize that whatever's happening that's bringing your attention, it's because there's some kind of vibrational frequency that's matching with where you are. So, scrying card. Be aware as we have these Mercury energies going on this week. And keep in mind that Jupiter, retrograde in Gemini piece, you can change your mind. Change your mind, change your life. It's true. It does take a lot of work. But it is really something that can be very powerful. I will post the message and the card in my Instagram. I love hearing from you guys about the gene keys experiments. I am excited about this potentiality. I'm thinking about launching maybe an Aquarius season. We'll see. That's what I'm thinking right now. So keep reaching out to me if you are interested, because it's going to help me like get this going. Book a reading. Email me, mimiclark@gmail.com. And the better it gets, the better it gets. There's more than enough love in the world for you. You have the power, and remember who you are, for you are the solution. Namaste.